We all work for missions, and missions expect a certain integrity. We as a society have become very reliant on West Coast, Silicon Valley solutions for every aspect of our life.
I would love open source 2.0 to become a term next year.
So I do think 2026 is going to be the year of the fabrics, the data clouds, the bigger data solution. Grant yourself some space for some left field thinking, because is it so left field? Just go out and do. It's amazing what you can learn.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Stuart McSkimming, and congratulations, you've made it to the final part of our three-part Virtue and Virtuosity Christmas special. We have talked so far about what we saw happening in 2025. We made some wild predictions. Well, maybe they weren't that wild, but we made some predictions for 2026. And now we're on to the business bit of this. What can you do to actually prepare yourself? And I'm lucky enough to be joined again by Kevin Antao. And in this episode, we put our C-suite leadership shoes back on and we outline our 5 big tech related agenda items for 2026 charity leaders. So Kevin, welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed some festive cheer and you're not in a giant postprandial slump after too much Christmas dinner, mince pies, huge portions of Christmas pudding, and a rather nice Stollen cake. Perhaps that was just me. There are lots of mundane things that we could have on our list to start off with, but some of those less exciting things, we're going to try and avoid them, because what we want to do is start our 2026 agenda with some real momentum. So Kevin, welcome back. Where should we start?
Hi, Stuart. Great to be back. I mean, maybe the more exciting bit to think around is the conversation that we have around data. And I think this is culturally really, really important. This is for CEOs to really grasp that data. I mean, I know this is probably 15, 20 years old, where statements that were made where people were saying data is like the new oil, and I was actually even working for an oil organization way back in the time when that was first being touted. But really, for charities, it really is the fuel that sort of drives the car. It's inexcusable in 2025, and particularly in that parallel agenda around AI. It's it underpins it. So you really got to think of data as your strategic asset. You really got to treat it like a strategic asset. And culturally, you want to be making sure and really start thinking about that architectural setup, right? What is it that is my toolkit that is going to underpin and enable data to be treated as a strategic asset? I mentioned in the conversation earlier on around providers such as Microsoft Fabric and Data Cloud, but I just think that 2026 is the year where unified platforms to allow you to do that analytics, but to do it in a natural language way, take advantage of those AI tools. You're having a conversation with the technology platform that you've put up to say, have we got supporters or have we got audiences that might be interested in X, Y, Z? What's the likelihood of them? That really requires some work to organize into a unified platform.
So Kevin, I 100% agree with that. We've heard about data as a strategic asset before, because it's almost a cliche. It's one of these phrases we use, like we're a data-driven organization. But for heaven's sake, let's make 2026 the year that this becomes more than words. So many times in this podcast, I've talked about how nice it is that you work in the charity sector and charities don't compete. Well, I'm going to make a prediction for 2026. I think 2026 is going to be the year when some charities get a lot more effective in their work, in their campaigning, in their service delivery, in their advocacy, in their decision making, in how they operate. And they do this through taking advantage of natural language AI querying and joined up data, all those things you just talked about being able to really query your data in a natural language way. And it's not about competing, but I think we are going to see that some charities move ahead quite rapidly next year, and that we get that air gap between how some charities are operating and how other charities are operating. So it's an absolutely great place to start, Kevin. Where else then? What else have you seen?
I'm a digital trustee for an organization. And it's not a common concept or a common thought, but it's from a a very small charity, but a small charity that really thought that digital transformation was going to make a real difference to their service offering and recognized that it might not have the skills and experience in order to arrive at that kind of digital future that it wanted to get to. So it took a decision to recruit and actually recruit for a digital trustee. And there's actually two of us that ended up recruiting on the board. Such was the enormity of the agenda and what they were trying to achieve. And I think the first thing is around, if we think we've had a long conversation about AI, we've had a long conversation about sort of data and cybersecurity. We really need the right governance frameworks and parameters and skills available. And that's probably sort of step one, get the oversight right. And I know from recent experience, I had talking to a large charity and talking to the trustees. And this was as simple as doing a CRM project and talking about, well, you do realize that, for example, these products come with already inbuilt AI capabilities. You know, is this something, we'll need your oversight on that, because is this the right thing to be exposing, supporter data to? And actually, I remember a trustee sort of saying to me and saying, well, we haven't got the skills or capabilities to oversee that at this point in time. We need to make some changes to and they did, made some changes to the skill sets that they have on their board. So I do think that's an important starting point.
Yeah, get the oversight right. You need the right skills. I've spoken a lot about digital trustees in 2025. In fact, I think I've had two or perhaps even three episodes all about digital trustees. So I really like that point. Get the right skills at the right levels in your organizations, the right governance, the right skills on your board, the right skills on your leadership team, the right skills in your digital technology team. Really invest in skills which can improve your oversight. So I really like that one, Kev. Can I also add on to that a good overview of regulatory compliance all around tech, data, digital AI, all of those areas? Because in the previous section of this podcast, we talked all about the regulatory changes coming in 2026. So make sure that you've got an agenda item to upskill your oversight bodies, both in their understanding of digital technology and AI, but also in their understanding of how it's going to be regulated, and find ways that you can keep this up to date, because we know that so much is going to change. Okay, great. So we've got two really good items so far. What are we going to have as our third?
We spoke a lot about cybersecurity in the conversation earlier on, and some very dramatic events that occurred over this 2025. I think there's a real complacency moment. There's a real moment for executive leadership to think about cybersecurity. And there's a couple of things I would encourage them to do, right? It's not about having an entry on a risk register. It's not about saying it's really, really important to us. And it's not about IT, right? These are sort of some bland statements I'm making. It's about doing. It's about actively taking a position. It's about actively embracing and understanding that sort of threat. I would argue it's about practicing, right? I think what we learned in 2025, so if you take the co-op event, for example, they switched off all their systems when they knew that the attacker was, I don't know, inside or whatever had happened on the event. And they actually followed their sort of incident response protocols as well through that. And even then, they still were impacted to the level of impact that they had. So you might be going, oh wow, I've got a plan, and I'm really happy I've got a plan. I've got instant response protocols, and I've got partners on ever. Complacency. Complacency is the thing that will get you. So really taking an active position. But I think the most important thing on that, especially, and this is a message for CIs and CTOs, right? We all work for missions, right? And missions expect a certain integrity and a certain way of doing things, okay? And good cybersecurity is inherently, we've got to talk about it not in a defensive way, but in an offensive way, in the sense of a good mission is good cybersecurity. It's so entwined with, what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to keep our staff, our stakeholders, our donors, the information. We're trying to keep it safe because that's just the good thing to do. We've got to talk about it less around technical aspects of what we're doing. So 2026, really repositioning cybersecurity as a massive strategic advantage.
I like that one a huge amount. I've been hoping year after year that we'll get to that stage where it is a big positive thing for organisations. But I think, given everything that's happened in this last 12 months, I think you're totally right. The time is now to position cybersecurity as something which is just absolutely core. If you're holding lots of data, you need to make sure that that data is secure, and to be telling your stakeholders, telling your beneficiaries, giving them the reassurance, don't worry, we've got this. Or even if we haven't got this, because let's face it, that lots of things can happen, we've got the plan in place. And if something does happen, you can absolutely trust that we will be following through on a carefully planned drill, that we'll be doing the things we need to be doing. Okay, so that's really good. We've talked about governance, and we talked about data platforms. We've talked about cybersecurity. I should just say at this point, by the way, Kevin and I are completely independent, because you might be thinking, just a sec, are these guys sponsored by data platforms people? Are they sponsored by the cybersecurity people? We're absolutely not. This is completely an independent
Absolutely.
viewpoint here. So yeah, we got three biggies there, which on their own would be more than enough things, and they're enough stuff for anyone who's in charge of an organization who's listening to this and saying, oh my God, they've already given me three big things all around data, digital technology to watch out for. Is there any other things that we think that we should have on our agenda for next year?
I'm going to do one more that I think is hugely important, because obviously we think about everything in the terms of people, process, platforms, or technology, the three Ps. I think of things in five ways, actually. I add protection and planet to that as well, which is, and please, if anyone's using that, they heard it here first on this, on this
The five
podcast.
P's.
So,
So there you go.
I'm proud of
People,
that. I don't want
yeah,
people suddenly quoting five Ps, but I don't know about it. But those are the five Ps that I tend to think about.
trademark it immediately, Kevin.
Yeah,
I would
completely
get that out
trademarked straight away.
there.
But the most and first important one of that is people, okay? Because you can't do anything on that. And I think that also with people, we have to understand, we talked earlier around moving from digital transformation 1.0 to 2.0, and that requires time. People are going to have to be given time to be able to upskill on things like AI, on that kind of the data platforms, the central data unified platforms that we were talking about. They need to be able to have the time to familiarize with so many tools that they're looking at. And actually also that literacy, nowadays, I mean, long gone are the days of, here's a piece of demand of what we've got, we throw it over the fence at an IT team, we get them to deliver it. Most of our stakeholders are savvy on IT, and often more savvy than us as technologists in many cases as well. And as the sort of race to AI occurs, I mean, it's just not possible for a technology team to understand every single aspect of technology. So they need to be given space to upskill. And so capability building in 2026 is going to be really, really important.
I'm so glad you said that one as your fourth P, the people. So I would agree with that 100%. I had someone else say to me the other day, who led a smaller organization. They said, "Where on earth do we go with AI? It's completely unpredictable. We just don't know where to even start, and the board are stuck on this. We're looking at initiatives. What should we invest in?" And the answer is very simply, all right, we may not know where you could go with AI. There could be all sorts of opportunities, and things are changing quite quickly. But one thing we really do know is that it's worth investing in your skills and your capability around it, bringing your people along the journey. Because if you look back 10 years or 20 years and thinking, okay, we don't know where we're going to go with technology, we don't know what's going to be the future with IT, but investment in digital skills was an unquestionably a good thing to have done to get your staff so as they've got really strong digital skills. And I think that's exactly the same thing we're at now, investing in your staff within your technology team, but also staff across your organization in building that capability all around AI skills, and also the digital skills as well, data skills, all of those different things. things so as you can address those literacy gaps that you've got at the moment and really invest in your skills. So I think that's a top number four. I think we should have your number five. Your fifth P was planet.
Yeah, so that's really around kind of five Ps there are just how I think of things in the broadest sense, right? Processes, as well as platforms or technology, as well as protection. I think we've covered cybersecurity. Planet was obviously the sustainability one. And I do think that this agenda, responsible AI practices, us being at the forefront as the charity sector of what the future AI is going to look like, because I think our voice has been slightly pushed to one side in terms of the missions. And I think some of the use cases that we see for AI that have been touted of what are doing good, often quite blunt sort of operational efficiency plays. And actually, did they actually make the difference to our service delivery or to our missions and what they're trying to do? I know, for example, I've been involved in a lot of child protection organisations. I've also been speaking to a lot of animal welfare organisations. I'm working myself in sort of social justice organisations. And actually, AI is a real opportunity to really reimagine what those missions can be and what they can do. And so I feel that more work needs to be done here, but I think we probably need to think about that, about what AI's kind of contribution can be in that. My fifth one was actually being prepared. You mentioned a lot around different sort of black swan events, part of this piece. And also I talked a little bit about things that might happen. We talked a little bit, for example, around diversification off those kind of big tech platforms that we've got used to over many, many years. There's almost a bit of grant yourself some space for some left field thinking, because is it so left field? Are these events so unimaginable? I mean, surely we learned something from COVID, but are these events that are occurring, are they so non-forecasted, or do we need to just make sure that we're prepared for that? And that would be my fifth one of 2026. Really stress test or think about your environment and actually what might happen from the left field side.
I think that's a good one. On the risk register, I always think of the probability and impact, and typically you have the impact is 5 and the probability is 1 on these black swan events. But when I was listing through those, I was definitely there with the impact being 4 or 5. But the probability, I think, right, it wasn't 1. I think the probability was 1, 2, possibly even 3 for some of them. And so I think that's a really good point there to have a look at those things which might just impact you and come from a left field direction. Always at the start of the year is a good point to have that session where you just dig into them a little bit and just think, are we really happy with where they sit on our risk register? Okay, so we've got through our 5. I think I'm going to summarize because we had an awful lot in there. If we boil it down, there's something really good at the heart of this. If you're thinking about your first leadership team meeting of 2026, what's on the agenda? Here are the 5 things that Kevin and I think should be there. Number 1 was data. We talked about getting your data joined together on a single platform. We talked about how you can take advantage of natural language querying to gain insight. And I made a prediction, a rather rash prediction, that some charities were going to leap ahead with this new capability. Number 2 was upskilling your oversight, making sure you've got the right governance in place, the right people at a leadership level. This is at the trustee level, particularly, and understanding the change that's happening with AI and digital technology, that making sure that they've got that really clear understanding of what's going on there, and they understand it to the level that's needed to make good decisions, and also that they've got a good understanding of regulatory changes. Number 3 was cybersecurity. We can't do this without cybersecurity, but we said that this is the year we think we can make it a positive thing for your organization. Kevin talked about moving on to the offensive with cybersecurity, not leaving it with your CISO or your CTO, but understanding that the people within your organization will feel a lot more comfortable if you really know your leadership team is serious about cyber and data security, and it's going to be a strategic advantage for your organization. Number 4, your people in your tech teams, your data teams, and also the people across your whole organization. In fact, the doers across your organization. These are the people that do the work. Now, you really have to give them the time and the support to learn and build their digital skills, their AI skills, their capability. It's so important. And finally, the fifth one was all around what I call black swan events, making sure that you take a huge step back and just think about the organizational risks you face and have you properly understood them and how they're going to change over the coming year. And by saying black swan events, you could be thinking, oh, well, that's really bland. It's across the whole organization. It's everything. But I'm specifically talking about those ones related to technology and very specifically thinking all about the ones around AI. So, Kevin, have I got that about right? You're nodding there. In fact, you're nodding with a big smile on your face. I think we've done something pretty unique here. It's a great list we've got, and it's a great agenda to start your year with. And obviously, there's going to be a finance director who's going to be pulling together a budget. There's always going to be a tight budget. And they're going to say, how are we going to do all of that? Well, one thing we've tried to do when we've done this is to try and make sure that this is not big finance items. Obviously, there's the huge transformation program all around your data, which is going to cost a lot of money, bringing in one of those data platforms. But perhaps you can spread it out over a longer period. Perhaps you can be quite agile in it. Deliver benefits early, do it in that way. But the rest of it, it's not actually things which are going to cost that much money. They're not going to shift the budgets and they're not going to involve £10 million worth of investment or anything like that. You can do it a lot more cheaply. And then finally, I guess, seeing as we're talking about finances here, there was a sixth one, which isn't really a sixth one, but it's the one I want to chuck in. And it's something we talked about in the second episode, which is all around how if you're using consultants at the moment, you might have discovered that consultants have got better. I hope you've discovered that consultants have got better. And this is because we're all using AI tools, whether it's Gemini or Copilot, whether it's Claude, whatever it is. Most of us now have got pretty good at using these tools. And internally in your organization, you're probably going to be on a journey where you're upskilling, you're learning all about these new tools, and you're really trying to work out how to take advantage of them. But in the world of consultancy, so many of us now have had the opportunity to experiment with these tools and to really see how you can do things so much more quickly with them. And you can see that you're getting a lot more value for money when you're getting work done externally. If you used to spend 5 days, you would get 5 days of output, whereas now you spend 5 days and you get 5 days plus whatever the AI tool is giving you as an output. You probably can spot that Kevin and I have a bit of a bias on this one, but it's really worth remembering all the way back in episode 2, which feels like a lifetime ago when we were talking about that, but really important. Do you think we've covered it there, Kev?
I think we've done a lot. So yeah, we've covered it all. But it's a hell of a lot to think about for anyone who's a technology leader that's in there. It is just about like doing beats thinking around it. We do tend to pontificate a little bit in our sector sometimes, and actually just doing. The one lesson I've taken away recently, particularly with like AI, is the learning now is very sort of practical. You build agents and you actually have product at the end of it, of your learning course, and that can be after an hour or 2 hours. So I know it's a bit cliche here, but just go out and do. It's amazing what you can learn.
I just paused there because that was such a good place to end on. Just go out and do. It's amazing what you can learn. I think that's completely it. So hopefully we haven't ruined your Christmas here with this three-parter, which has been a mammoth one. So thank you, Kevin, for being my partner on this one. It's been huge amounts we wanted to cover, but I really wanted to get this out over Christmas, so you've got a time to sit and reflect on it. And we always transcript these episodes as well, so you can take the transcript, download it, bring it along to a meeting next year, and hopefully it will give you the points to look into for 2026. And maybe also have a listen back to this sometime around December 2026, and you can see how well we did. So always embarrassing there. Thank you very much, Kevin. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on, and this has been a mammoth session, but it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, folks.
You've been listening to an episode of Virtue and Virtuosity brought to you by VirtueChain, the AI consultancy for the charity and not-for-profit sector. Did you know that there is also a newsletter that goes with this podcast containing news on AI and tech in the charity sector alongside a podcast summary? You can check out previous copies and subscribe through the link on the Virtue Chain website at virtuechain.co.uk or through LinkedIn. Check out the profile of Stuart McSkimming, that's me, for the subscribe button to the newsletter.